Yeah,
Pressure
this guy's a crazy freestyler.
Okay,
So
okay.
incorporate, the whip car hat and Baybayin and everything and anything. All right, everybody, please give it up for Noah.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. We're here to put Philippines on the map. Baybayin representing with the new whip cap. It's good to see us all together in the Philippines throughout the rainy weather, cause all of us is better when we do it together. We represent for the Philippines. I came from Queens, it's here to live the dream. Lord, please bless us with this time to give us the steam to proceed. It's more about ancient scriptures and painting pictures and put it all together and knocking away the pretenders. And this is real, we in the capital G. Shout out to Urban Mix with the camera, you see? Smile, cause we all here to share our style, learn our history. There's mystery we need to find, but the truth that lies is in our hearts and minds. It's all God's design. This is the time, so check your watch. The new whip cap, I got it on, it looks hot. I see it, and you see it. Seeing is believing, no matter where we from, we all human beings. We need freedom, and that's what I'm preaching. But thank you, Lord, for giving me this teaching. The blessings, my confession, reverse to all the people who stuck in depression. All the people locked up behind bars. This is the truth, the bars that I spit for us, we all stars. Shining, let's keep climbing to the top of the mountain. Thank you, Lord, amen. I'ma keep on counting my blessings. Yo!
Please give it up for Noah. That's what's up, Noah. Thank you for that. And thank you to the real capital G for bringing us all here today. And of course, before we also start with the workshop, we'd like to invite our designer, because of course today we are launching the brand new Wipka hat. Right?
Yes.
Pretty sweet looking,
Wipka.
But before he does our workshop in a little while, can we invite Christian to explain the
Yes,
design?
explain, give us some few words.
So the design, if you notice, we have the Ka, which is up at the top. And in Ka, anytime you add the word Ka, like Kaibigan, Katipunan, Kaibigan, right? So it adds unity to it. And the way it's designed is that the Chris sword at the bottom right here, that represents the struggle. And the calligraphy pen right there will represent the art. So it's all about the struggle and the art, the balance of life, the duality of life. And that's what this hat's about. So this version, we released it with the Maong. Maong being iconic with Filipinos, not just when the Americans came over here, but also the Manongs that came over to California in the 1930s. They were the Manongs who were Maong that helped build California, build America. So this hat is, to pay tribute to them as well.
You give it up for Christian, style and substance. Woo! Definitely.
That was deep.
Yes,
I appreciate the hat so much more now, knowing all that. Thank you, Christian.
Yes.
All right, so moving on. Are you guys ready for the workshop?
Are you guys ready? Let me hear you say yeah!
Yeah.
Hold on, isa pa. Let me hear you say yeah! Yoy!
Alright, so anyways, as a Filipino, I grew up in the States, but now I live here, and I'm always excited for things like this because it gives us a chance to learn of our heritage.
Yes.
And especially to the youth, especially to you guys here, it's great that we have Christian here to teach us a little something about our past.
Yes.
And so once again, please welcome Christian Kabuay.
Yoy!
Alright, so, and also, if you notice with the hat in the bottom, there's some Baybayin in it too, but there's also, looks like a bunch of Roman letters that are kind of scattered about. So, just one clue, that's Katipunan code. So, get on the internet, figure it out. I'm not going to say anything more, you guys got to find out what it means. I know some of you already know, so quiet lang. Alright, start. Okay, so this is going to be an introduction to Baybayin. I'm going to talk about identity, promotion, and preservation. What I'm going to do is first give you in context about the script, and then later we'll go into the workshop. But first I want to tell you my story, just so you know about my journey. So it started out in 1992. So some of you probably weren't even born yet. So some of you probably weren't even born yet. You're just ideas. So that's when I started. So I first saw this image. So this image is the Katipunans. I saw it in this next section of books. These are now obsolete, extinct with the dinosaurs. These are what are called encyclopedias. You know, back in the day, we used to have to look through these things. But that was pre-internet. So I would go and look at the letter P to see what was in the Philippines. And then when I did look it up, that I found this image right here. So this is an old Katipunan flag. So I thought it was the letter I. And that was back in 1992. So I said, oh, cool. We have our own alphabet, but I didn't know anything else about it because obviously there was no internet yet. It was difficult to reach to people. So what I did was I printed this picture out and I took it to a Filipino festival, and I asked an old man, and he told me that, oh, this is our old ancient writing system. But this was the only character I've seen. So that was until 1996, until I moved back here to the Philippines. So what happened was I came here for vacation. I was supposed to stay here for 8 months, ended up staying for 8 years. And what I did first was I lived over in Kahulian village down by Capitolio. So I was so excited when I first got here is that I walked to Mega Mall, up Shaw Boulevard to Mega Mall just to go to a national bookstore. And these are the first 2 books that I picked up. And in these 2 books, I found out that, okay, I got a whole picture of the chart, but this also gave me context in terms of what the script means. So when I got here, I did all of these things. I tried to go to school, start a business. So I did all of these things while knowing the script. So that kind of helped me grow to who I am today. There's a lot of weird things in here, like this right here. You'll never see that episode because it sucked. It was actually called Today with FBR on, is there still IBC 13? Yeah, so you're not going to see that. So it was one episode, pilot episode, and it aired and it sucked. So next. So when the internet came out here about 96, 97 was when I first got on it. And then I saw this website, the Tagalog script by Hector Santos. He's a retired film based in LA. So he was the first to document the script online. And he had a lot of information about it. And that's when I kind of got hooked on it. And from his site, I was able to talk to other practitioners. And I started my own website. So before there was Facebook, before Friendster, before MySpace, we had GeoCities. So GeoCities doesn't exist anymore, but I created my own website, and it was called Conscious Philippines. So basically, it was a blog about everyday things that I would encounter in the Philippines, like the sucky straws, how the sales ladies staple your bag 50 times, or they follow you around the store. So that was kind of it. And also, I wrote about like skin whitening lotion and colonial mentality. So it was a mixture of a hodgepodge of weird things, but also social commentary. But then when I started this website, I added the Ka because that's something that I remembered from when I was younger. So in 2003 is the next chapter. So I moved back to America, and I said, all right. When I moved back to America, I was missing the Philippines. So then the first thing what I did was I got this. Here you go. So I got a tattoo. So the tattoo is of my last name in the script. So, because I was missing the country, but then I wanted something to sort of remember it. So I got my last name done. Tattoo artist right here, his name is Alex Figueroa. He's based out of LA, but he travels the world. And he kind of got me back into the script. Because before, when I was in the Philippines, I knew the script, but then there's no use, no purpose, right? I just remember my cousins would use me to get girls. They would say like, oh, ito yung Philam cousin ko. You'll write your name in old alphabet natin, and then we'd be at Fridays there in St. Francis Square, and then they'd call over the chicks, and then here, there, and and they'd laugh. So I was gonna use that as bait, but then that was the extent until 2003 when Alex, he kind of got me like, oh man, you should do more artwork on it because I wanted to do art, but I wanted it to be based on the script, so he kind of got me back into it. So then what happened was I started PinoyTattoos.com because there was no website for tattoos, and I wanted to show people the tattoo that I had. There was only Friendster and MySpace. I think Multiply was around back then. But then I wanted to create my own site. I said, okay, so yeah, I'll create my own site, Pinoy Tattoos, and I uploaded the photo and I broke it down. These are the characters, this is what it means. Then all of a sudden I started getting emails. can you please translate my name? My parents died. I'm getting married. My great-great-great-grandfather was Filipino. I don't know my culture. So then I started getting that every day, and then I'll take a picture and then email it to them. But then I got overwhelmed with it, and it started becoming more of a job that didn't pay. So I thought, maybe I'll charge $5 via PayPal. So it went from $5 and $15 and $20, and then so that's kind of how that translation or translation business came about. But then I didn't want to just do artwork for tattoos, so I started this next site, Baybayin.com, shortly after. So I can separate the tattoo artwork with the education or the academics, and also say traditional art form. So I can discuss the script by itself without, because sometimes people just want to get it for tattoos, which is fine, but then they don't want to say dig deeper into it. So this is a site that was meant for that. So on the site, then I had a translator, basic information about the artwork, and it became a hub for the script. So anything that had to do about the script was posted on this site. So here's some of my projects. Let's go through this fast. So I have a book that I wrote in 2009. And then I have another book. It's basically a collection of all the names that I've translated since 2008. And this right here is a big list of about 5,000 traditional Filipino last names that have it written in the script. So have it in the traditional way and the modified way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to release it on the internet like as a database so that people can look up their last names. And besides that, the language is another factor too, because when I was learning the script, it also helped me research different languages. So what I'm doing is that I'm getting the, say, top 500 English words and translating it towards 12 of the most, I guess, popular, or the 12 known languages in the Philippines that are see, we have Tagalog, and then you have Kapampangan. So I have about a dozen of them. So all the major languages as well as the dialects. So it's going to be uploaded. It will be a database where people can crowdsource, where they can say, oh, Malito, they can update it, and people can vote up and down which is the better translation. Because if you go to Google Translate, it's only Tagalog. You know, what about the other languages? So then I also have an app. And this right here is, I'm here, actually I came here in 2010 to film a documentary on the script. And I'm here again to complete it, so I'm almost done. And this is a project that I launched last year. It's it's a concept of the script, using it as a identifier. So this is going to be a cologne or a perfume, and it's called Sha. So either meant for a man or a woman, but you know, it's difficult to have a a CK1 because either it's too manly or too feminine. But the concept here is that it to be one. So I do a lot of festivals in San Francisco. Let's see, what else? People get their names translated. These are some of the lectures that I do in Stanford. This is in Berkeley. This is at the Asian Art Museum. And this is some of the artwork. Okay, so now that you have some context. So first things first, probably people have been asking, isn't this, Alibata? That's the first question. So the answer is going to be, yeah, Baybayin is Alibata, and Alibata is Baybayin. There isn't any difference. The only difference is going to be, is that Alibata is historically incorrect term, meaning that it's a made-up word. It didn't exist. So, like, you go back 400 or 500 years ago, then it didn't exist. So, meaning it was just recently invented. So it comes from the first three characters of Arabic. So Alif, Ban, Ta. The F was just dropped to make it sound better. So it seems to make sense, right? Because the down in the south, we have a lot of Muslims. Our neighbors, they are Indonesian, and Indonesia has a pretty big Muslim community. So all of that is true. But the popular theory of the origin is India. So And as Filipinos, we don't really acknowledge our Indian past. It's either because of our discrimination, we got 5'6", or Bombay, or Bao, or whatever, that comes from our parents, or Maitim. So that's unfortunately, so we kind of take that out. But if you look at our past, like the Visayas, that's an Indian name. So it followed the path of migration down to the south and came up to the Philippines. So here's some examples of the connection. So there's some words that are in, say, Tagalog and Hindi that are the same, like muka, tuka, diwata, divata, guro, guro. So those are just some words. So anytime you hear things that end with ka or maharlika, that is an Indian word. And we have some treasures like the golden Tara, which is obviously Hindu. It's one of our treasures that's in the Field Museum in Chicago. We hear things like mahar maha, that's an Indian concept, which is very Filipino, but we don't know that. Oh yeah, it is Indian. You hear us say it all the time. All the writing systems in Southeast Asia have Indian roots. But there are Philippine-centric theories that have come about within the last 2-3 years. So one of them is that the script came from clams. So meaning from the shape of the clams, that's maybe where our writing system came from. Also up in Antipolo, the Angono pictographs, they are the caveman drawings. So some believe that the drawings actually have the script in it. So the question is, why was Baybayin named Alibata? So it happened in 1921, so it's fairly recent. It's introduced by this guy, Paul Versosa. So you see all his credentials right there. So he was a pretty smart guy. So back then, if you have a lot of credentials, then you're respected. So no one really questioned him. So he said in 1921, he was speaking in New York City in front of a lot of press, a lot of important people, and he introduced the word. So because of his background, then that's why it stuck. He also wrote a book, and when you write a book, of course it's legitimate. So he wrote this book in 1939, further explaining the use of Alibata. But he did know that it was Baybayin. So, but then why did he name it like that? Why did he name it Alibata? Was it because of pride? So he's saying that the Sanskrit alphabet, Devangari, means city of God. So maybe he found, because Baybayin literally means to spell. So maybe he found it too boring, right? So he wanted something that sounded like alphabet, like alpha, beta. So maybe that's one reason. So why has it stuck? Right. So one reason is because of the lack of learning material. So when you go to school, the teachers, they'll print out a sheet and they'll say, on Monday they'll say, oh, ito, Alibata alphabet, test on Monday, with no context. So they don't know the history, they don't teach you why it's important or any of the benefits. So they just get a chart that has been around since the 1930s, and then they give it to their students. So they teach it like math, and then the students, they grow to dislike it. Okay, next. So this is one of the charts. So if you go to Google, you type in Alibata, and you'll see this chart. So and also, one of my ideas is that what's easier to say. So people say Baybayin many different ways. Baybayin, Baybayin. There's so many different ways to say it, depending if you're in a rush or depending on what your accent is. So the problem with the Alibata term, it's just a name, So people will say, yeah, it's just a name. But the problem now is because when you start off with an incorrect basis and you search on the internet, because that's what everyone does, is that you're going to be led to wrong posts, wrong outdated material. So it's important, when people search, they search for Baybayin, and when you speak to it, then you use the proper term, because most likely people are going to go to Google and they'll type in the Alibata or Baybayin, and then they'll find it out. So the death. The death of Baybayin, it's easy to blame everything on the Spanish. But yeah, we say Baybayin in Spanish, But then, they actually helped us keep it. Sure, the first book in the Philippines was written in the script so that they can convert us to Christianity. But what they did was then get those books out of the country so that they would be kept, they would be preserved. Because we wrote on bamboo, on leaves, on organic material. because we didn't really keep our history in the in the bamboo. So we just told stories like ambahan, we said our poetry. So like like our haranas. So we kept things like that on the bamboo, but we didn't really keep any historical records. So English, English is another way that they say that when the Americans came over, then that it kind of killed our language. So the use of English also is a reason why we're not using the script as much anymore. The Japanese came here in 1943, so we can say, okay, now we can blame the Japanese. But the Japanese, they actually forced us to use the script again. This is a stamp in 1943, and it says Kalayaan ng Pilipinas. So they looked at it like, why are you guys following those white devils? Use your own script, you're Asian. So in 1943, 1944, when the Japanese were here, a lot of the government agencies, anything printed from the government, had our script in it. So also during the Spanish time, we had a slavery, aka tribute. And when you're too busy doing other people's shit, you don't have time to study or do your own poetry. You don't have time to tattoo. So that's one reason too why it disappeared. There was a new social class. We had the new social class. Everyone wanted to be part of that. They didn't want to be part of the old ways. Economics is another reason, because if you didn't know how to write the Roman alphabet, then you wouldn't be able to get a job. You won't be able to get a job. You can't be part of the new social class. You can't be part of the new social class, and you can't get a girl. And everything revolves around a girl. All right. So the Philam movement. Yeah. So I work with this guy. He's in San Francisco. So he's saying that the Renaissance began in the 90s in San Francisco. A lot of people get pissed off. They say, no, it didn't. It started in the Philippines. But he kind of gives a pretty good argument. Thanks. So this is Alex Figueroa as well. He's been doing the script for about 25 years. He's also saying the 90s was kind of a tipping point. This is a Maganda magazine, 1995 in Berkeley. We had a club flyer, a magazine done by Joselito Serling, and he's a Berkeley professor. Thanks. So the reason why I think that the 90s was kind of important, because during that time, we had the right technology, we had the ability to create our own zines, we had the internet. And before, all the colleges, they would be protesting within the college, but then now we can reach out to the world. And in the Bay Area, we had a lot of Filipino celebrities. So we had the rock steady DJs, we had DJ Qbert, Yoga Frog, we had a famous graffiti artist named Dream, we had Jocelyn Enriquez, she was, you guys don't know. Well, most of the people here don't know her. All right, next. We have Hinay, which is a group in the Bay Area. So they actually had the script back in 1994 in their logo. What happened was that it actually says Diwak, but everyone thought it said Pinay. So everyone started getting that tattooed in the 90s. Oh yeah, look, it says Pinay, but then it actually meant Diwak. So, teka muna. So there's also a Philippine presence of the script during that time in the 90s. So it did exist, but then the way it existed here was that, first of all, it never went away, but it was more in the background. So we had like these Damanians from Mindoro, they had their poetry on the bamboo. We had signatures. It was hidden in our old money and in our pesos. There's a little peace sign, you can't see it here, but if you look at it closely on the coins, you can see it. And it was in stamps. Here's another stamp from 1943. Another medal from 1943 for Jose Rizal. The military, of course, had it. We have some of our government agencies, CCP, Bayanihan up there, mostly in books. So it was always present here, but it was hidden. It wasn't as upfront. So, but why Filipinos outside? People always ask me, you're not in the Philippines, why are you interested in it? So why are they interested in it? So it's ultimately like the search for who we are, is we're outside of the Philippines, so we're saying, who am I? Am I, as a Philippine, I'm searching for identity, because I'm in a land with Mexicans, I'm in a land with a lot of Asians, and then they don't look at you as Filipino, because there's 3.4 million Filipinos in the US, but we're invisible, we're not represented anywhere. just now, we'll see like, oh, we're in Born Identity getting beat up, by the guy, where the Will Ferrell says, he'll say I think the Filipinos, so that is as much exposure as we get, but the Chinese are about 4 million and we're about 3.4. So there's a lot of Filipinos there, but then we're invisible. It's just now that we have some people that are coming out films. So ultimately, we are saying, I'm not Chinese, I'm not Vietnamese, I'm not Mexican, I'm Filipino. So that is one reason why, we're interested in our identity. So also, we have the American individualism, we want to be different. We want to stand out from everybody. So we're going to say, look at, this is our writing system. I have it tattooed on me. I have it on my shirt. This is who I am. And I always say that, we can be impractical. Because to me, I can spend hours and hours studying the script. But out here, there's, different priorities. So meaning like, I don't need, that's not my room. I don't need a big TV, right? So I can afford to spend, some money to buy a bunch of books. I can afford to spend some time to do some research, but out here it's different. So I put this sign up because I do a lot of lectures in college, and I always notice that people, when they go to college in the States, they say, I'm going to college to find myself. I want to see where my passion is. Like, I'll spend $50,000 of my parents' money or student loan, but then I don't know what I want to do. I want to take philosophy. But out here, you go to college, what's going to pay me so I can help my family? What's going to pay me the most so that I can get a better job? Or, I'm not going to college here to find myself. I want to find myself, I'll just find it, on Facebook or something. So, unlike in the US, we're always trying to see who we are. Right, but out here it's like, selling ice and Eskimo. So one of my observances is that when I come to the Philippines, I try and teach the script to say, oh, but why will I learn that? Pinoy na ako, right? So to them it's kind of redundant. So this next screen right here, they don't see the benefits of it because they're saying, I'm already living here. You're the one who's searching for yourself, whatever that is. And I'm living here in the everyday struggle, so I don't need it. Whatever the definition of Pinoy is, I'm Pinoy because I physically live here. Even though I use black and white, and watch ASAP or whatever, So there's that argument. But for me, the benefits is three items. So one is cultural identity. Two is promotion, and then preservation. So using the script as a cultural identity means that identifying yourself, not just in the Philippines, to the world that you're a Filipino, because the world works visually. It doesn't work touchy-feely. So if they see something, like you walk around here, you see Bonchon, you see they have the Korean script, you go to the Singaporean, you see the Chinese script, or Japanese script. But you go to a Filipino restaurant like Jollibee, or Red Ribbon or Shakey's, you don't see any of that. Or even some of the more traditional Filipino places like Kabalen, you don't see the script. So there's nothing that really identifies it. So the way it works is that you identify and then you also promote. You promote for what? Not just for fun, but for economic benefit. So for example, you want to promote to Filipinos. But how do Filipinos know you're Filipino? Filipinos don't even know you're Filipino. You say, you can speak Tagalog and say, oh, Pinoy ka ba? Pinakala ko i-chip ka or whatever, right? So that happens all the time. So Filipinos don't even know we're Filipino. So we could be walking around in the mall and everyone there's Filipino, but then one looks white, one looks black, one looks Mexican. So there's that whole identity that we're missing there. And then once you use the promotion and you show the economic benefit, then that will automatically lead to preservation of the script, because there's something that, okay, there is something that is tangible and there is a benefit other than the cultural one. Because you go outside and you see a homeless kid, you say, oh, see, you should learn this because it's good for the culture. They don't care. They want to see money. And that's what the promotion is. All right, next. So for example, you see this restaurant, you can tell right away that it's Chinese. And right here is a Japanese. And this one right here is a Thai. And this right here is a Filipino restaurant, typical Filipino restaurant. So they have, you know, sometimes they'll have, I don't know, maybe a fan or the big wooden spoon, but then there's nothing cultural about it, really. Say, kung, you know, like, titid sila or what. But there's nothing really cultural, but you don't need that much, right? So this is a plaza in LA, so you see all the different signs in there. You can see that this is Korean, and there's some Japanese and Chinese. And this is Chinatown in San Francisco. And this is Seafood City Plaza. So this is the Filipino plaza in Daly City, probably the most concentrated Filipino. But then look, you have Seafood City, you have Yellow Cab, and then I think on the other side you have Goldilocks. So if a white guy goes there and you say, oh cool, seafood, I'm gonna have some caviar or whatever, right? And okay, Yellow Cab pizza, some New York pizza, cool. But then it's not Filipino, you don't know, right? So what I'm trying to do is trying to get Filipino businesses, because a lot of abroad, they already recognize the script. You don't have to know how to read it, but you recognize it and you automatically know it's Filipino. Like an example, selling real estate, insurance, you're gonna go probably to people you trust, and most people will trust someone that's their own race. You know, that's the truth. So, you know, Chinese people, they have on their sign, they have Chinese translation, Chinese characters. So this is probably something that I'm envisioning, like, you know, we'll have a city of all Baybayin signs one day. So I think that's possible. If the law that I'll talk about later happens, you know, we're gonna see it. Right, but there is a Philippine revival. So there's a group, Baybayin Buhayan, which started in 2010, and they've done a lot over the past 2 years. You know, they have, importantly, they have money. They have a charismatic leader who can speak, he's a preacher. So they have political connections. So in the Philippines, those are pretty much the 3 things that you need to be successful. Okay. So then there's the National Script Act of 2011. And basically what it is, that it's going to require all food that's manufactured in the Philippines to have Baybayin on the labels. So this right here is Kim's Bistek, and you see on the side it says Bistek. So that's an example of what could be happening within the next 1 to 2 years. And here are some samples of studies. And then right here we have our new pesos that came out, I think last year. So on the bottom it says Filipino. It's a security code. But what's interesting is that it wasn't written by a Filipino. The one who made that font is a white guy from Canada. So the designers used it. So there was kind of an issue because the Banco Central, they're saying, yes, Filipino, Filipino, Filipino. Everything's iconic. But then later, you know, it was brought out by me that it was a white guy who designed the font. So then there was also a stone that was found down in the south in Masbate. You know, they thought that it was a treasure, but then we don't know if it's a real treasure or if someone, or kung gawa-gawa lang. So that's something that is at the National Museum right now. And then also, are there any Kapampangans here? No? Oh, yeah. So Pulikan is a Kapampangan script, which has been revived. So if you go to Pampanga, you'll see a lot of the signs out there, like artwork, is all Kapampangan. There's also like tattoo artists down there that they don't tattoo in the usual Baybayin, they use Pulitan, which is the name of their script. Then we had Amaya, you know, she did a class of the script on her show. Okay, so here's the modern movement. This is what's going on. So we have a lot of artwork that's happening. We can just go through this real fast. So let's go to the next page. So Jose Rizal, he actually wrote the script. So last year was Jose Rizal's 150th. There's a lot of people, they don't know that he actually wrote the script, but this is a piece of his handwriting, a sample for his transcript for William Tell. So it goes back to our history, you know, even our leaders like C. Bonifacio, Rizal, they all wrote in the script. So it's somehow being missed when the kids are being taught in school. And this right here is a script that was created. There's a religious sect up in Manao, the Rizalistas. They actually revived their own script, their own version of the script. but there are some issues with the revival. So the first one is that there are existing scripts like the Mangyans, then in Palawan, and also you can even say the Kamampangans. So if the script is say institutionalized, if it be the National Script Act, just like when Tagalog became the national Filipino language, what happens to the other languages? So what happens to the other scripts? I mean, are they going to be ignored? So that's an issue. There are no standards, so if you have the dot at the top, dot at the bottom, you don't know if it's going to be E or I, O or U. So if we're going to use the script again, it has to be modernized, or we have to have a committee that will make those standards. Like the teachers also. 2 weeks ago, I did a lecture for Deaf Ed, but the teachers now are kind of set in their old ways. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So we're kind of behind in, say, technology-wise, a lot of the schools, especially public schools. So how are we going to get the teachers to teach them? So also illiteracy. So if we create Baybayin, we make it like a part of every day. Some people can't read or write in English or Tagalog or even in their native language, and now it's going to be Baybayin. It's going to be another level of illiteracy. And also the Tagalog regionalism. Because Baybayin has been identified as a Tagalog word, Baybay meaning to spell. So there's the Visayans or the other regions that say, wait, we shouldn't use Baybayin or make it the national script because again, it's the Manileños, the Tagalistas, ruling the Philippines again. So then there's also Pinoy versus Vil-Am. I mentioned it earlier. There's the why are you doing this? Sino ka, yamang ka, porque English, sino ka ba? So I get stuff like that all the time. But to me, I'm saying that I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, but I want to either inspire or anger people here so that they can beat me. So I shouldn't be doing this. It should be coming from here. So I want to challenge the other guys that are either talking crap or they want to have a Filipino born and raised perfect Tagalog or Bisaya or whatever to step up. So this is always an issue. We get it in every facet, and it's also in the Baybayin community. So also mass exposure. Mass exposure, once people will get used to it. You go to a Chinese guy, hey, cool Chinese script. They say, I don't care, because they've already been writing it for thousands of years, so they're already exposed to it. So the business of culture as well. The business of culture is kind of a fine line because just like Sun and Stars, when that came out, they didn't want you to sell it because you're whoring the country, especially with the script. So there's some people that think that you shouldn't be profiting off the script, which is I disagree because you need money to propagate the culture. And then there's also the economic cost. If this is passed, who's gonna be the one to change all the signs? Imagine all the signs. I mean, all our signs are messed up already. Imagine having to replace it and then add the script, and then what if it's wrong? But then also the little things like the UPS, their labels, the bank tellers. There's so many things that have to change. And also practicality. So I monitor Twitter for any keyword for Alibata or Baybayin. Most of it is students complaining. They're saying, why do I have to learn it when I'm going to be an accountant? Why I'm going to be an engineer? Why do I have to learn it? So they don't see the cultural benefit or the economic benefit. And then, is it even necessary? So that's the biggest question, because if you go outside, you see a kid like this, and you see all right, he should learn the script, but why? He's more, he wants to put food in his belly. Is the script going to do that? Right away, maybe in some 10th degree, way, but right away it won't. So it's up to you guys, the artists, the youth out here, the business people, to revive Baybayin because it's a visual. It's not a philosophical concept. It's very visual. Whether you know how to write it, really good or even just a little. But it's up to you guys to kind of spread it in the work that you do, whether it's in NGOs or whether it's in business or some fashion designing or graffiti, tattoos. It's something that identifies the people. Okay, so we're ready for the workshop. Any questions so far? All right, we're gonna pass out some of the workbooks. green rusty shirt? Yeah, see, that's what I was talking about. That's him? That's him. Yeah. Yeah, you have to watch that movie. I should. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, right? This guy is nuts. Good stuff.
Any questions, comments, violent reactions? Shelley.
How hard is it to translate foreign sounds?
It's an approximation. So, like for example, I'll give an example in the workshop, like say Pacquiao. Depending on how you pronounce it, you can say Pacquiao, Pacquiao, Pacquiao. So there's many different ways. So with names, there's it's an approximation. So there are less. There's many ways to do it, depending on how you pronounce it, whether you're writing it the traditional way or the modified way.
Or what sounds are limited to? What sounds are not included?
Like the CH, like ch. So
there goes my name.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
The shallow, we would do like TS, cielo. So it would pattern the arrangement of different languages around Asia. So the CH or the TF would be TS.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Tell me more about this law you were talking about.
Yeah, so there's a law that's sponsored by Congressman Bitoli, and it is the National Script Act that will require the writing system to be mandatory in grades K through 12 or K-12, and then also the all food that's manufactured in the Philippines on the labels. No, not FDA, just on the food labels itself. FDA? Yeah, maybe. Well, when it comes to the States, or you know about locally, I don't know if yeah, so that's the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Guys, are they good? May mga tanong?
In the back. The symbol up here is the Ka sign right here. And for Ka, to me, it means unity because when you add Ka2 where you see like Kaibigan, Katipunan, Kabayapalan. So, and also it's my last name, Kabuhay. So it works out perfectly. Okay, so we're ready for the workshop. Any questions before we start?
Any other questions?
Baybayin is considered a dead script, right?
Dead in the sense that it's not used in everyday writing by the masses.
Wait, so how do we know yours is correct? Like, if you try to revive it so that other people...
So there is no real, there's basic rules, like general, I'll go over it in the script, in the workshop. So the general rules have been documented and they're still being used today by the Mangyams in Mindoro and the other tribes that are surrounding it.
Any other questions?
Hi sir, just a question about, one of the reasons why Baybayin is not famous right now is there are two versions, right? The traditional and the Spanish version, and I guess the reason they don't want to undergo learning this is it's hard to understand the traditional version. So if I were to ask you, what do you think we should use then? Do we use the traditional, which is so hard to read, or the Spanish version?
I think while the Spanish, they were the first to attempt to modernize the script, and then we have the idea of don't use anything the Spanish did anyway. But if you just look at it from purely the aesthetic, the script itself, if the Spanish never came here, we would have modified it ourselves, just like the Thai, the Indians. We would be the ones that would have modified it anyway. So the question would be then whether you use a cross to cancel the null, or the X, or what's called the pabutut that the Mangyams use. So I think that's the main point. But the reality is that if we're going to use it in everyday we would have to use a modernized version of it. But for me, as an artist, I like to use the traditional. Say it's more mysterious, right? And it depends on context. So just like before, when we had our own, had our own tribes or barangays. If I was, say, writing something to Ian, he would know because we're in the same tribe, right? But then if you read it and you're from somewhere else, you wouldn't understand, say, on the context.
Is there already a committee that's starting to standardize the script?
There isn't yet. I think one thing that needs to happen is that once this law is either passed or looked at more, or once it goes to the Senate, then it's going to flush out those questions on things that need to happen. Because I have that questions, and I assume our politicians are smart enough to answer those questions. He's nodding his head. So, if I was a politician, I would say, are there standards? So there would probably have to be a committee, just like DepEd or like NCCA, so that would definitely have to happen. But who's going to head it? That's the bigger question. But to me, it's just about asking and saying, yes, we do need to have standards, and let's talk about it.
Any other questions?
All right, let's start the workshop. All right, next page. So what is Baybayin? Basically, it's an umbrella term of all the scripts. So when I say all the scripts, I'm talking about the Kapampangan script, the Manyan, the Tagalog script, and anything else that happens. The Visayas, they're also starting to do their own script. Like if you go down to Boracay, you see that like a lot of the tattoo artists there, they use like a double kudlit version. And that's strictly a Visayan way to write the script. So right here we have the Anuno, and these guys, these are the Mangyans. And these are the Buhits, also from, let's go back. And then we had, Buhits, they're also from Mindoro. Next, and these are the Tagmanwas from Palawan. And then this is the Kulitan from Pampanga. And this is more of a newer, within the last, say, 5 or 6 years that has come about. And this version, they write it from top to bottom. Alright, so the script, there's 14 consonants and 3 vowels. And let's go through this quickly. We can just go, here's the A, this is the E or I, O, U, and then we have the Ba. Let's go through. Okay, so those are the basic characters. So if you look in the workbook, you'll see that there's similar strokes. So if you go to the next screen, like for example, this stroke right here, this is the Ha, but then you'll notice that the shape is more or less in the La, it's in the Ka, and there's a Ha. So I think I identified like 5 or 6 basic strokes, and if you write it, if you know how to write that stroke, then you'll have a better understanding on how to write the rest of the characters. So this right here, so this stroke is like on the Ya, it's on the Pa, the Ah. So you notice that the stroke is pretty much the same. And this right here looks like a 3. You'll see it here, there, as well as Sa. And this right here as well. Okay. So how to change the vowel sound? So these are called kudlits. At the top, if you have it at the top, it's going to be an E or I. At the bottom, it's going to be O or U. And here's the breakdown. So without the sound, without the kudlit, the marker, it's going to be Ka. So each character has an inherent A. So it's not K, it's Ka. So you have Ke, Ki, Ko, Ku. So by looking at this, you could already see we're talking about standards already. Say, how do you make the difference between Ke or Ki? Because before, in our language, we don't differentiate that. Sometimes we'll say do not or do not, right? So we still speak like that, right? So that is the reason why before we didn't care whether it was an E or I sound. And then here's again for sa, se, si, so, su. So right here is so how to change the vowel sound. So right there we have the same characters, but just with the kundin at the bottom for the top character. So we have puti and then you have puto. So it looks very the same, but just putting the kundin at the bottom changes the word itself. Right. So you can use pretty much any marker. Just use a check mark. The designs they use like a Nike swoosh. They use that. But then you know, a dot, a star, happy face, whatever you want. So any questions so far? Okay. See you next. So other writing systems that use kudlits, because kudlits aren't only for this Philippine writing system. It's also in Devangari, which is an Indian writing system. So they also broke it down because theirs is much more evolved than ours. This is what would have happened if, say, the Spanish did come. We would have added a way to make it different from ke, ki, and ku or ko. So what they did, so they added something above, they added something right here to the left, right, below, so that they can say this is the difference between the E and I and the O and the U. So that's something that would have happened. So traditional Baybayin, like he was asking earlier about the traditional and the modified versions. So this is basically an easy way how to write it traditionally. So the basic rule is you drop the letters with no vowels after it. That's the basic rule. And if you can see right here, say kalayaan, you see the N is blocked, is grayed out because there's no vowel. If there's no vowel, then you don't write it. Like I have it on my arm here, I have kalayaan. So pamilya, there's no L, there's no vowel after the L, so you drop it. Pag-ibig, and then banana. So that's the basic rule if you're going to write anything traditionally. Yes. So you should learn the basics before the exceptions, and the exceptions are going to be like the names, like Shello said. How do you write Shello, or how do you write Pacquiao? So once you learn the basics, then you can learn how to translate names. So right here, this is going to be cruz. This is the way they used to write it when the Spanish came. The Filipinos would kuru, because a lot of them didn't like to use kudlits. Say it's hassle, they used to have to carve it. So you know, so cruz would be kuru. If you notice the vowel right here, ku, it would be the same one as the following. So if this was E or I, then this would be an E or I. So the kuru, like Teresi, because they went A, Tare, Si, Ba, Ryan. But you can also do whatever you want. You can do B, Ryan, but then or you can do Ba, Ryan. So it depends. So there's not really that, when you do names, there's not that much of a hard rule. It's up to you and whoever's being translated. You know, it depends. So that's why it's very personal, especially when you're writing names. So again, here like Pacquiao, can we write Pacquiao, Pacquiao, or Pacquiao? So it depends on the pronunciation on how you want to write it. So now it's modified by. So the first attempt was when the Spanish came in 1620. The father, Francisco Lopez, he added the cross to silence the vowel. So that was the first attempt to modify the writing system. So it looked like that. So this is the first book that was printed in the Philippines, the Doctrina Christiana. So what they wanted to do is that they wanted to translate this book to either Tagalog and Ilocano, but then they had a hard time because when we did the Baybayin, we would drop the final consonant or any consonants that don't have a vowel. So then the Spanish, you know, they were confused. So what I do now, I use the X to cancel the vowel, meaning, you know, from a mathematics. So X marks the spot, or X to cancel it. But so we had the plus or the cross, we had the X, and then this right here is mangyan. That's how they cancel the vowel, and this is called pabudpud. So here's the difference between traditional and modified. So we would have lakas. So we just have laka, and then modified we have the S. So laka and then S, lakas. So, but then this isn't anything new. A lot of the other scripts, they already do it. So if you look at the Indian script, they already have their cancellation. And then why did the Spanish try and modify? It was weird to them. So they were trying to translate. They would say, okay, why are we missing these certain consonants? Because to them, the words they were translating were sacred. The words of God. They didn't want. You have to have every single character. They didn't have context, right? Because for Filipinos, we already have context. Like this, like si ano, kinuha yung ano. We already understand that. But then if someone outside says, what the hell are you talking about? They won't understand. But then we can text, you can say, oh, yung Juan, oh, sige. We know, right? So that's how it is in Baybayin. We can write laha. We don't need to, it's lahas, I know it's lahas. But someone will say, like a Spanish guy who will come and say, what's laha? They won't know about that. So that's, what, it's kind of inherent to us. Like, we have the idea of dagdag bawas, right? So like, when we text, we have short text. That's why we're the number one texters, because it's inherent to us. So when we text, we have our short, we can shorten words. We don't need to see all the vowels. We don't even need to see the consonants. We could mix numbers and letters together. So, that is from our old ways of writing Baybayin. So right here, you have basa to read, and then you have basag. So depending on the context of the other words or the person writing it, then we will know what it is. So, but if you just say one word, you won't know. So you have to know the person and also the surrounding words in the context. All right. So right here, this is a easy way to learn how to write modern or modified Baybayin. So you write down the word, say karayaan, you underline all the consonants that have a vowel right after it. And then any that don't have a vowel, put an X under. So we have ka, la, ya, a, and then the end. So then these are the characters that you would write. Next. But then again, it's all about handwriting. So you see the fonts, sometimes people will tell me, oh, your Baybayin is wrong because it doesn't look like the one on the internet. Or it doesn't look like the one in the book that was printed by our teacher. So to me, just like graffiti, if a graffiti artist writes, you say, oh man, that right there says shallow, but no, it doesn't say shallow, it's wrong. So it's your own personal style. And once you get to develop your own hand style, then it's not going to look like everyone else's. Say if you write exactly like this, you're going to be like a elementary, right? So once you get used to writing Baybayin, develop your own style, and it'll be more personal. So like this, you see this chart. When the Spanish came here, they said, sige, this is the Visayan version, Kapampangan version, the Bicol Ilocano. But in reality, it was just their own personal style. But then what they did was they separated by language. Language is different, but writing is the same. For example, like you go to Europe, they use the Roman alphabet, but then they write in English, French, Italian, and so forth. But then when the Spanish came, they wanted to separate it in terms of the language. Like right here, this is all the da character done in different ways. So the direction, let's go. So direction, this is actually Mangyans when they write their ambahan, their poetry. So they write it from the bottom going up because the bamboo is already posted. And there's actually a story that the Mangyans, what they do is that before in the old days, before they had the postal system, they would say write something to their wife or deliver. They'd write it on a bamboo and then they would stick it in the ground. And then another Mangyan would walk by and say, oh, I know where this is, and he'll pick it up, and then he'll take it to the next village until as far as he's going. And he'll put it down, and then until another Mangyan comes, oh, see, I know where this is, and then he'll go there. So it'll come back in like 2 or 3 days to the destination. So that was what they used for their old postal service. Next. So this is the way that they write it. So the way they write it is that they use a stylus or like a knife, something sharp, but they would do it away from them. Say, when you write it bottom up, it makes sense because they don't want to stab themselves with the dagger. See, so it goes away. Right, next. Is that the next? Okay. Okay. So common errors. So common errors are like treating each character as a letter. Like right here, this is a shirt that a Cultura did. the clothing store. They made an Alibata shirt, but then what they did, they did Alibata. So there's already an A, so it should be Alibata, but not Alibata. So they printed that and they sold it. And then this is the Department of Budget and Management. So they wrote this. Kagawaran ng pagbabaget at pamahalala. So they did it all wrong. Yes. And this right here, P&D guys will like it. So this guy right here, it's funny. So can anyone read it already? You guys read it? Yeah. So this guy, he got in dedication of his father who passed away. And your nickname is like Tatang, right? But then he forgot to put the cancellation at the last part. So then it says Ta Na. But then at least he can fix it. But then, and then this guy, so this is done probably in Boracay because you notice the check mark on the top and bottom. That's how the designs like to cancel the sound. So what they did was that each character they used it as a letter, which you're not supposed to do. So this guy, he's a rapper from New York. His name is Jay Fluent. So what happened was that here's Fluent. You have F. This is the L, U, E, and T. But you know it says pa la u e nata, right? So it doesn't make sense. But then see if you're saying okay, we'll do one that is one character. We'll say okay, it says Fluent. But the problem is his name is Jay, and a lot of the people who write the script they say wow, there's no J. So in J, what do you do? So J, G, right? But his name is J. So what I did was G A Y. So so yeah, Jay Fluent. I said the J should be a combination of the D and a Y. So you say like Dios, right? You hear Dios, Jollibee, but they did a G. So it's Jay Fluent. But I think that's just henna. Well, that's henna. So it's probably gone by now. At least it's not permanent. Yeah, thanks. So that's all. So any questions? One more screen. Yeah, so that's all. So that's my information. Feel free to contact me. Answer your email or Facebook. Okay?
Christian, workbook too, right?
Oh yeah, the workbook. If you didn't get a workbook, you go to baybayin.com in the download section. You can download the PDF, print it out all for free. I also have a font that you can download as well. So print out the workbook, give it to your friends, upload it, pirate, whatever. Just upload it everywhere. Yep. Okay, so we also have we have a tarp here. You guys want to practice writing your names? We want to collect all your names. We want to have the big tarp here of everyone's names in Baybayin.
Yeah, once again, please, let's give Christian a round of applause. Do you guys have any other questions?
So how many generations did it take for Baybayin to be wiped out the way it is now? In other words, for being popularly used every day.
I think that, because when the Spanish came here saying the 1500s, I mean, literally it only takes maybe 2 generations.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the second generation, say, Philippines in terms of the language, by the first generation, they're already gone, man. So, in like 3 generations, when you look at the Chinese, they still Chinese that don't understand any Chinese and Japanese. And they're like 5, 6 generations. They just happen to be Chinese, but they've never been to China. They don't even eat Chinese food. So there are going to be Filipinos like that, if not already. I mean, I have nieces and nephews. I'm sure we all do that. Don't speak Tagalog or not even Tagalog, any language, or don't identify. They don't even watch TFC or anything like that. So, it's bound to happen. But yeah, unfortunately. But with this, because this script is cool, but then it's also something that is visual that you can identify with.
Any other questions? have one. So when did the collaboration with WebCap start?
Oh, okay. In 2010, I think I was looking around on the internet, and then I emailed the guys just to give them props because I knew I was coming here in 2010. And then I emailed them and I just wanted this information because I wanted to get my own hat done. So I said I knew it was coming out here, so I emailed them. I met up with Mike and Matt over there in the back, and we connected and threw back some ideas, and this collab went on, and it's been happy since then.
I'd like to commend you guys because I mean it is a lot of your workshop was about it,
Yeah.
saying that these hats are a part of the youth culture. Everybody that came here today knows about it, and then it's gonna spread. And whoever wears the hat, they're gonna be wondering what these letters are. So
Yeah, exactly. So tell people what it means, and at the bottom there's something that's kind of hidden. So you guys gotta look it up, find out. I'm not gonna tell you, so you guys gotta find out. Some people here already know, so.
if you find out you win $1 million from Christian, so go and find it.
So yeah, if you need any help writing your names, let me know, and then we can go ahead and get started.
Any other questions? Wala nang tanong.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Once again, we'd like to continue the event, of course. We still have tattoos here by PNP, 50% off ink and free henna. And then if you're already ready to write your name on the tarp, we'll find a marker for you. Or Ian here has a marker, and then if you need help from Christian, he's happy to help you guys. So again, thank you.